Hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine Cunningham, and today I will be discussing the issue of veteran homelessness. This presentation will explore the demographic characteristics of homeless veterans, their unique challenges, the five key empirical studies I utilized throughout my research, and relevant social work interventions using trauma-informed, equitable, and gender responsive approaches. So let's begin with this short video about veteran homelessness.
Last year, we reported that VA met its 2023 goals early for reducing and preventing veteran homelessness. We knew then that the work wasn't over, despite the milestone. Although the goals were met, veteran homelessness actually rose in 2023 by 7.4%. And the issue isn't limited to veterans. Soaring home costs and the gradual end of COVID-19 pandemic era protections are impacting everyone. Overall homelessness increased by 12%. We're confident that this rise would have been worse if not for the significant actions taken to house more veterans in the past few years. And despite these increases, there is still an overall downward trend for veterans. VA housed more than 46,000 homeless veterans in 2023. Taking a deeper dive into the data reveals some more startling details. Between 2020 and 2023, total veteran homelessness is down 4.5%. But during that same time, the number of homeless women veterans is up nearly 24%. Although the proportion of these women veterans is still low, it's important to recognize there may be factors contributing, especially because VA estimates women are on track to make up almost 20% of all U.S. veterans by 2040. These issues are complex and layered, and everyone's journey through life is different, and there's never a one-size-fits-all answer to why one person ends up without a home and another doesn't. We do, however, have a bottom line that's much more simple. Even one veteran experiencing homelessness is one too many. We're going to double down on our work to prevent veterans from becoming homeless in the first place, connect homeless veterans to permanent housing with supportive services, establish an effective shelter system to support veterans and their families, increase the supply of affordable housing, strengthen tenant protections, and reduce evictions. If you or someone you know is a veteran who is homeless or at risk for homelessness, call the National Call Center for Homeless Veterans at 877-4AID-VET. For more information, visit www.va.gov/homeless. All right, that's your bottom line up front. I'll see you next time here on the block.
So the average homeless veteran is around 49 years old. About 87.7% or 87.8% of homeless veterans are males. But women veterans are the fastest growing subgroup, currently at 11.2% of the homeless veterans. 70% of homeless veterans are white, 22% are Black, and 8% identify as another race. Most served in the Army or the United States Marine Corps and often in combat roles. Many are low income and have inconsistent employment histories. Educational levels vary widely. What stands out is their exposure to trauma, both before military and during military service. These pre-military and military traumas increase the risk of chronic homelessness, mental illness, and substance abuse. So now let's talk about the link between trauma and homelessness. Multiple studies confirmed that veterans experience trauma at a higher rate than civilians. Trauma doesn't always begin in service. Many veterans faced adverse childhood experiences or interpersonal violence before enlistment. A study by Carlson et al. 2023 called Traumatic Stressor Exposure and Post-Traumatic Symptoms in Homeless Veterans conducted a quantitative study on 189 homeless vets and found that 81% had experienced trauma either before or during military service. The study found that pre-service trauma and PTSD symptoms were strongly associated with suicidal ideation and housing instability. This confirms that trauma is a central issue that must be addressed in care. Now, let's explore why so many homeless veterans don't access care. According to Crone et al., 2023 study called Comparing Trauma Treatment Outcomes Between Homeless and Housed Veterans in a VA PTSD clinical program found that only about 27% of homeless veterans access VA mental health services. In their mixed method study, they found key barriers like mistrust in government systems, the stigma of homelessness, lack of transportation, and confusion about available benefits, and lack of information about VA benefits. Military culture also plays a role. Many veterans feel that they must handle uh, problems alone, and this creates further isolation. Sy and Kelton 2023 emphasized that systemic discrimination, especially among women and veterans of color, prevents equitable access to services. Women veterans face different and more severe barriers. Studies report that women veterans are often undercounted in homelessness statistics because they either will couch surf or live temporarily with family or friends before resorting to like camping out in the street or going to traditional shelters. Women are more likely to be survivors of military sexual trauma or MST and are also more likely to be single parents than their male counterparts. These circumstances make traditional shelter environments unsafe or impractical. According to Sy and Lampros 2025, there was a 17.9% increase in unsheltered homelessness among women veterans in 1 year, highlighting a critical gap in care. Additionally, women veterans experience a 22.2% decrease in pay after leaving military service, which further increases their risk of housing instability and economic insecurity. So, to address these issues, there are several changes that are necessary to help end veteran homelessness. First, we need to expand trauma informed care and make it standard across VA services. Second, gender specific programming should include women only shelters, child care support, and confidential reporting mechanisms for military sexual trauma or MSTs. Policy changes must increase access to mental health care, peer support programs, and job training. Investments in permanent housing and mobile outreach services are also essential to helping veteran homelessness. Studies found that supportive services for veteran families, or SSVF, are highly effective at preventing and ending homelessness, especially for women and families. So the complementary and integrative health, or CIH, model includes services like yoga, acupuncture, Tai Chi, and meditation. These services are specifically helpful for veterans with PTSD or chronic stress. Um, the CIH model is most effective when working in conjunction with more traditional trauma informed or non trauma informed interventions. Um, a Fleck et al. Study called the Association Between Complementary and Integrative Health Service Use and Completion of a Residential Rehabilitation Program for Veterans Experiencing Homelessness conducted a quantitative study and found that homeless veterans who participated in at least 7 CIH sessions were 4.8 times more likely to complete treatment than those who didn't complete any CIH sessions at all. CIH helps veterans regain a sense of control, reduces hypervigilance, and rebuilds trust in care systems. The CIH the CIH model is a micro level intervention offering individuals healing through non-traditional therapies. So, for the Housing First model, here's a short video.
We can make a reality where veteran homelessness rarely occurs and is brief when it does. And we are continuing to make progress, guided by our shared understanding that a home ends homelessness. Homelessness is traumatic, and the path out of it can be challenging. We want the journey home to feel as supported and direct as possible. That's why our entire community of providers is working together to try and make every support we offer, every temporary stop someone takes, a step towards a permanent, safe place to call home. That's why we are proud to be a community that embraces housing first. Housing first means we target barriers while actively looking to secure permanent housing. This approach allows us to support a foundation for health, recovery, and well-being, while reducing the harm and trauma that accompanies being unhoused. People aren't screened out due to low or no income, lack of sobriety, or other issues. Housing first doesn't mean housing only. We offer services to support stability and individual well-being, but they're not a condition of tenancy in housing. Providing housing for our unhoused neighbors is a proven approach that ensures people can rebuild their lives.
So this model is supported by strong empirical evidence. Studies found that veterans in Housing First programs had significantly better long-term outcomes in stability and mental health. Wilkinson et al. 2024 study called First Decade of Supportive Services for Veteran Families, Programs, and Homelessness 2012 to 2022 conducted a mixed method study and further confirmed that combining Housing First with supportive services for veteran families, or SSVF, reduces veteran homelessness by thousands annually. Women veterans, in particularly, benefit from housing that accommodates children and provides wraparound support. Montgomery et al. 2013 study called Housing Chronically Homeless Veterans, Evaluating the Efficacy of a Housing First Approach to Hood VASH, conducted a quantitative longitudinal study using VA administrative data from over 13,000 chronically homeless veterans enrolled in Hood VASH programs. They found that veterans in Housing First programs had significantly better long-term housing stability, fewer psychiatric hospitalizations, and improved mental health compared to those in traditional or treatment first models. Housing First is a macro level model. It addresses systemic housing policy and access reform. So we must acknowledge that VA systems are still very male-centered. According to the 2022 Homeless VA report, most facilities are not designed to meet the needs of women, especially those affected by military sexual trauma or MST. Women need safe private shelters, on-site childcare, and staff trained in trauma-informed gender-specific care. By expanding programs like supportive services for veteran families or SSVF and ensuring that funding goes towards gender specific services, we can address a major cause of hidden homelessness among women veterans. The gender responsive care operates on all three levels. For the micro, it provides individualized support. Meso, facility and program design, and then the macro level with policy and funding. So street outreach and mobile engagement are vital. Many veterans don't come to clinics or shelters, so services must come to them. Studies found that mobile medical units, or MMUs, were effective in connecting homeless veterans to trauma-informed primary care and mental health services. These services reduce the pressure on emergency rooms and build long-term trust with veterans. Community partnerships with shelters, food banks, and public health providers are crucial. Outreach and engagement are meso-level practices that extend access and build systems of trust. So social workers play a critical role on all three levels. On the micro level, they provide trauma-informed therapy like cognitive processing therapy, CPT, or eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR. They also help clients navigate housing benefits and family services. At the meso level, social workers lead support groups, coordinate team care, and implement CIH-based group therapies. On a macro level, social workers advocate for systemic changes, including expanding housing first programs, improving VA policies, and increasing funding for outreach services. Social workers also support families. Many veterans are reluctant to seek help out of fear their children will be taken away. Social workers help create safe, stable environments where healing can occur without judgment. Homelessness is a complex issue shaped by trauma, um, access barriers, and structural inequalities. Through trauma-informed care, CIH models, housing first, gender responsive programming, and committed social work practice, we can create pathways to stability and dignity for our nation's veterans. And to conclude this presentation, I will be reading a poem from Douglas Levon Dawkins called SOS for a Homeless Vet. The gutter is not where I'm from. Yes, I've been called a statistic and treated like a bum, looked through and talked to as if homeless means I'm dumb. Because I live in the trenches, surviving off society's crumbs, I earned a Purple Heart, yet unhoused in the slums. Homelessness attacks the body and soul like a bomb. I was starving in Hanoi during most governors' senior proms. I served my country and lost friends in the jungle of Vietnam. Being a POW MIA, trust me, was not a field trip. It seems I'm still at war over veteran benefits. Ask any military vet. There's always some shit. Made the ultimate sacrifice while mercenary politicians got rich. I am a homeless warrior, one of the forgotten who never quits. To stay safe, we homeless sometimes form cliques. It's how we minimize risk. But make no mistake, harsh conditions still exist. Our silence and invisibility for legislators would be bliss. I've been robbed several times, harassed and kicked. My mind ravaged by internal wars. Which one? Take your pick. Veteran affairs? A taxpayer scam and a political trick. Far too many veterans are wounded mentally and physically sick. Ugly memories of war flash by like an action flick. My spirit salvaged by a service dog named Rick. His unconditional love helped me tick. There's healing in his hugs, kindness in his legs. He barked at any stranger holding a stick. I hated the bottle, but loved the pills, tuned to numb the guilt and pain I feel. Deserved or not, make believe or real, it's a physiological battle and a physical ordeal. Sadly, not covered by my GI Bill. Again, I can't overstate that shit can get real. When you're cold, wet, and missing meals, each day is struggle and it's all uphill. My skin is not so thick, though my heart is galvanized steel, meaning it's difficult to communicate the emotions I feel. How is it there is no sanctuary for the homeless and mentally ill? Each day I exhaust from dodging unfriendly fire, living without the freedom I fought for, the things I require. I see those who send us to war for liberty are still liars, true to form government cuts and cover ups never expire. Some days I stand on Ninth and Empire with a sign that reads Mechanic for Hire, praying that one person would judge my effort, not my attire. Though the world is round, most days I fall flat. Sometimes I suffer panic attacks, lose my fragile grip on reality and react. Take cover behind bushes and start shooting back. And I can't afford the meds that will keep me on track. In the shadows of my mind, I can hear grenades blasting. Head shrinks call it flashing, the equivalent to two trains crashing. My worldly possessions in a small bundle. Sometimes in my sleep I scream and mumble. Again, I experience the fear of crawling through jungles. I am not a silent soldier, nor am I as rigid as bones. Sending out an SOS for a vet, homeless and alone. Thank you for listening, and I hope this was informative. Goodbye.